Welcome, welcome, welcome to your reading. This is a couch reading. I usually do them on my desk, but I'll sit up here. And let's go ahead and jump right into this wonderful, wonderful reading. I've been on a roll, and the reason I've been on a roll is because my sun is 28 Pisces, and I have Mercury 0.04 away from my sun. It's called a cazimi, which means they're very, very close. And right now, Jupiter is at 27 Pisces, the planet of luck and expansion. And Venus is at 23 or 24. And Neptune is also at 23. That one stays there for a long time. But essentially, and the moon is actually really close also. So it would be very foolish of me to not take advantage of these energies and do as many readings as possible until Saturday, which, yeah. 1 second, actually. I need to write one thing to remind myself not to have any sessions for Saturday or anything planned with the clip. All right, let's turn the so I have all the chart pulled up. I want to turn one thing on. Okay, so we're going to jump really deep into this chart. I don't know if you've been watching my readings lately, but let's just say that things have been getting real. Very, very real. So, okay, let's create this over here, and we are just about ready to go. So let's go ahead and turn the timer on, and then let's show an image of your chart. Where did that? Okay, clock. Reset. Start. Okay. Very good. Still put this down here. So, I don't know why the clock is minimizing. I don't want it to be my full screen. There it is. That's good enough. Okay. So, share screen. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with. So, no. All right. So this is the chart. First thing that one would realize is down here in the elements, we have no water, like literally no water. So we'll talk about that. And we also have a moon in Taurus in the first house and a Leo sun in the fourth house, and Taurus rising. So double Taurus with triple Leo with a Leo stellium. And then you got some stuff going on in the second house here in Gemini. And most of your chart is beneath the horizon. So that indicates, the way I always explain that is that some people say it's like more introverted, but really what it means is that if your life was if you're writing the book of your life, when there's most of the planets below the horizon, it means that like the key parts of the book would be more like internal realizations, internal growth, as opposed to more like public like events and stuff. Doesn't mean those things aren't going to happen. And you have your North Node on your midheaven. So there is this big karmic pull towards, it's in Capricorn too. So this big public pull towards that real public, like boss lady energy. So with that said, it's in perfect trine to your moon too. So that's something we'll speak about. So anyways, okay. So really quickly, Taurus rising, ruling planets Venus, which is in Gemini. But before I really get into the Taurus rising, the first question I always ask myself is, how does the sun in Leo relate with the moon in Taurus? And, in this situation, they're both fixed. So if you look down here, you see you have like a lot of fixed energy, right? It's a lot more than the cardinal and the mutable. And what that means is that there is a very, very much, and I'll show my face. So essentially, when there's lots of fixed energy, fixed is like energy that's consistent, but it can be a bit stubborn, right? It's the signs Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. So all of those signs are very stubborn. And, when you have a Taurus moon and a Leo sun, they're squaring each other elementally, meaning that there's like a tension. These are two energies that want very, very different things. So on the moon sign, if you think about your sun, your moon, you can think of it like kind of like a yin yang. So on the moon side, there's a real need for security, whether that's within the body, feeling really, really grounded and rooted. There's a need to feel in love with that earthy element within us, within Earth. To the things that are sensual, right? The things you can touch and feel with your senses, hear. All these things are very important for the Taurus moon individual. It's a very strong moon placement. And basically some people say it's the best moon placement to have, even though Cancer is the dignity position. Taurus moon is very, very, basically the goals of the moon is to be able to meet one's emotional needs. So Taurus, being a very feminine, and it's very feminine, the moon. So Taurus being a very feminine energy, it's exalted in the moon, in Taurus, the moon. So Taurus moon people are typically able to meet their emotional needs. They're able to be very, very grounded, but not like in a way that's like too kind of out there. And they relatively, most Taurus moon people are relatively happy people. I mean, I know it's a big generalization, but there is some relative level of happiness. And a lot of it has to do with the body, because Taurus is all about like somatic and the body. So you might be really, really interested in something like yoga, or hiking, stuff like that, right? And it makes others really like trust you, typically, like a real like emotional warmth. And there's a big emotional need for stability. So one of the things with Taurus moon, though, as you probably heard before, is that it can be really difficult for Taurus moon to take risks, because it finds satisfaction quite easily. Like it can really see the beauty in different things in life. So it can make it difficult, for example, to leave the hometown, or to risk leaving the job, or whatever it is, or a relationship even. And also Taurus is a very stubborn sign. So when it comes to thought, and we'll see, what you have going on, you have it, a nice trine with Pluto opposite Neptune, and a trine with the South Node. So, and the trine with the South Node, I have that too. And that usually speaks to like a very positive karmic relationship with your mother. But we'll see what the other stuff says. But yeah, so they're able to even meet their needs. You have to watch out for risk taking. It's all about like Taurus moons. They definitely need to learn to take healthy risks, and like have an open mind, basically. And in the first house, that's very it means that your emotions, on one hand, it means that your emotions feature are like you wear your emotions on your sleeve, right? Like your emotions are a very prominent part of your personality. I'm gonna hold this right now. I wish this was less heavy. And you wear your emotions on your sleeve. Bad idea. And also there's a real emotional need, because the first house is Aries, to kind of be your own boss, to kind of be, really like individualized, like really, really independent streak, right? There's an emotional need for adventure, for kind of going through life and not really being held down. And, you have all this Leo energy too. So that's going to be similar to this. in the sense that it's fire energy, right? So it wants to experience these insights. It wants to experience these this movement, this speed, this excitement, right? And then the Gemini Venus is going to complement that even more. But so Taurus, you know, in the first house, it definitely needs to take risks. And it's very like, you know, it loves stimulation there in the first house. And yeah, it's all about moving forward in your life. So that can be like at odds with some of that energy, right? Because Taurus, like I said, it kind of likes, it's quite traditional. It likes, you don't strike me, even though I've literally like, I make sure not to look at any photos or like do anything before I do these readings. But, you know, Taurus can be quite traditional. But really it just wants like on an emotional, like even relationship level, like it wants someone that it can like really depend on, but like at the same time, opposites do also attract. So, I think of Taurus moon people as being like like rocks, like they can like kind of like depend on themselves to be the same person day after day after day, which is really an amazing thing. Because a lot of people struggle with that, you know, and it's not to say that you are exactly the same every day. No, not at all. It's just like, you can really rely on yourself emotionally to not have like, to be calm and to, you know, obviously there's other aspects of your chart that we'll talk about, but yeah. So moon aspects, you know, I'll go into the fact it's opposite. Just like, I'll just say them now, you know, square Mars, square Mercury, opposite Neptune. So we have a lot going on. Then also, you know, the trine with the midheaven. But okay. So how does it relate to the Leo in the fourth house? Well, fourth house, sun means a large part of your life is, you know, your life purpose is around family. It's around tradition, maybe connecting with ancestors, potentially. You know, sometimes it's like, let's see what aspects I see there. All easy aspects besides the square with the rising, but yeah, I mean it's squaring, you know. So you have the Taurus side and the Leo side, right? And it's kind of like, because you have 3 planets in Leo, it's kind of like a push and pull. So it's a huge part of your chart. And 1 second, let me pull one thing up. But yeah, so Leo, okay, so on one end, Taurus likes things to stay the same. And Taurus, no. Taurus likes things to stay the same. And Leo is all about like personality and creativity. And it makes one very ambitious, right? It makes one, you know, really feel like they have this very deep creative purpose to fulfill in their lives. And the fourth house, that makes kind of home life very important, right? Like it makes, you know, the family and all that kind of stuff very, very important. So you might feel like, and I think your south node is there too, right? No, it's on the IC. So that can be read in different ways, but basically, like, you know, there's definitely, I mean, South Node in Cancer, regardless, it's on the IC, is that there's definitely a past life tendency to be very close to home and to kind of be the nurturer and to kind of be more in touch with the feminine side. Also, this could also mean that like a lot of times when this is emphasized, which I guess it's not so heavily emphasized, it's just more of the nodes, but sometimes that can mean like you know, in this lifetime, you've changed sexes, like there's like you're a female, but maybe or I don't know, people identify with these days, but like there could be like, you know, a switch, like maybe like in your last life you were a male, but that's not, you know, a huge axis, so I wouldn't think too much about that. But just a thought in the follow-up, you can you know, I hope you're taking notes, being a good student, and you don't have to, but yeah, it's good to so you can remember the talking points. Because I channel this whole thing or whatever, I don't remember a single word. You can quiz me like 10 minutes after, I won't remember anything. It's crazy. But yeah, so Leo, it wants to be creative. It wants to be fun. It's all about the inner child. It is literally like such a out there energy. It's a fire sign. So one end of you wants to be very grounded, and the other end wants to just like explore and I guess expand is not really the right word, but kind of expand, right? So yeah, it's a big part of it's learning to harness and like, like inner creative talents. And yeah, there can definitely also be some like dramatization with this. Definitely like very like Leo is very, very fun. I mean, it's just like that back and forth, right? Between the stability and one second, let me find this real quick. Yeah, the stability and the new, because Leo is a very new childish energy. So let me find this really quickly. For one thing. Okay, found it. So yeah, so they're both fixed. So basically, like, when you have your sun, your moon that are square, a lot of times that has to do with like parents, that your two parents being kind of at odds with each other. Like I have the same thing, and my parents are divorced, so it doesn't necessarily mean that, but it sort of means that like if you were like the general main kind of like topic, or not topic, like main lesson you got from each parent will be very, very different. Like if you have to like write down a paragraph, like what did you learn from your dad? What did you learn from your mom? Or like what was like their main worldview? They'll be very, very different. So yeah. So squaring fixed signs, they tend to really resist altering themselves to accommodate one another, right? So both parts, they don't really like giving into demands. So there can be like a big, this is probably the most difficult square, sun square moon, is when it's fixed, because neither wants to give anything, right? Because like Taurus, can be very possessive. It likes holding on tightly to whatever it owns. And everything's kind of geared towards like, value. Like it's also like, one really good thing about Taurus moon too is that it gives someone usually a very strong self-esteem, but you do have the opposition with Neptune. So that's going to actually kind of cloud that, especially when like growing up, and can kind of, even for a Taurus moon, add like a very amazing imagination, Pisces energy, but it can also make it so it's like very unclear on how you see yourself. But yeah, so yeah, it's all about like, material security and internal security. And it doesn't like to kind of like waste energy, and it's very practical, right? Very practical, logical. So then on the other hand, you have like Leo, which is this very optimistic, upbeat, fiery energy. That's not afraid to kind of like give that energy to the world, and it really wants to radiate itself and find its creative purpose. So the Leo can kind of see the bull, like, the Taurus bull is this kind of, I don't know, like almost like tight, overly tight. I don't know. And see it as like too content with living like the safe life. But they can see like Leo can look at Taurus and be like, it's too dull. And then Taurus can look at Leo and be like you're crazy, like it's unnecessary, right? And like Taurus also can look at Leo and being like, yeah, like your willingness to gamble with the future security is like what the fuck, and why are you doing that just to have fun with, colorfully and artistically or whatever it is, creatively, just expressing yourself, right? So in squaring signs, they can't easily figure each other out. So there has to be like a way you find this common ground. like for myself, with the Sag and Pisces, they're both very philosophical. So they kind of meet there, even though one's fire and one's water. So with this one, I think that it's about taking the best aspects of the Taurus moon, which, like the good thing about this one is that Leo sun is a very strong sun placement, right? Leo, it's the best sun placement, right? Leo is ruled by the sun. So it's in dignity. So you literally have the I don't like saying best or worst, but you know what I mean? Like it's literally like it's the number one sun placement. If I had to make a list of best sun placements, most natural, it's Leo's number one. And then for the moon, it's either one or two for moon Taurus. So it's like very strong. So it's like really like taking the best of each of these and leaving the worst, I guess. Right. So this would be a lot harder if, for example, you had, I don't know, moon in Aquarius or moon in Scorpio, sun in Leo, or sun in Aquarius, right? That would be a lot harder because those are the other fixed ones. So both of these energies are very strong-willed, right? So they're not easily deterred from like satisfying like what their goals are. That's like with the fixed signs. It's like the single mind. So you have this real single-mindedness towards your goals, right? When you put your mind to something, it's boom. So it's like, how can you meet the goal of Leo, which is more colorful, more based on like following the inner child and that real love energy and that real gregarious, laughy, taffy. I don't know, not laffy taffy, but that Leo energy, that fun being a star when Taurus is about the security, because sometimes Leo does things that's not always the most secure, right? Also, both of these signs really love luxury. They like being treated well in life. So that's one thing they have in common. And self-value, that's Taurus. Taurus is all about self-esteem. But like Leo also is about self-esteem, right? So that's another thing they have in common. They both really want to feel good about themselves. And, the sun in Leo typically doesn't have much problems, especially since there's no bad aspects or difficult aspects. But like, Taurus is very humble, right? So it's more of like an internal, like Taurus will care more about like security internally, especially the moon sign. Like if you're a moon in Leo, you'd care a lot about like getting compliments and all that. Taurus, it's more about like, am I secure in my life, right? Am I secure financially? Am I secure spiritually, energetically, all that stuff. But then like Leo, it's like more, Leo sun, it's like you're meant to really, really shine, right? But like Leo moon's a lot more difficult than Leo sign. So you're meant to shine that fourth house. Which is really interesting when we have the North Node in the Midheaven, because the South Node down there on the IC, like I was saying before, it's like past lives of having kind of fulfilled the mother role and the feminine role. In this life, it's like how can you be a boss, right? But your sun is still like where you're meant to shine, and that's in the fourth house in Leo. So like, I don't know, like, but there are some careers that are fourth house careers, like real estate, right? Things that have to do with the emotions, right? Like anything mothering, even like counseling, right? It's a water house, or like psychology, stuff like that. Anything that involves the sign Cancer. But Cancer, people don't really know this, but Cancer is a big sign for business. Like some of the biggest businessmen and women are Cancers. So yeah, like I was saying, Taurus is more self-contained and depends less on reviews from others. It's more pleased with its own efforts. That's good enough, right? So when you combine this, there's definitely a potential for like overindulgence. Both like to kind of pamper themselves. So watch out for spending. Like Leo tends to not really care how much the pleasures will cost. Taurus might be more like sensitive to that. But like, yeah, the Leo, it seeks the best in life. And yeah, so it's one budgeting for sure is important. But both signs, another way that they are good. And by the way, squares are not bad things. It's just like you have to like get them like find the common ground and get them to work together. Like it's like getting two, in basketball you have different positions, right? So it's like getting the center and the point guard to play together. That's kind of, I just came up with that. That's actually a pretty good metaphor for square. So loyalty, both of these, like it's like based on like enduring feelings, the loyalty, right? And they form strong attachments to those that they trust. And I think they both like want to be seen as trustworthy and honorable in what they do. And besides maybe Virgo, there's no sign that really beats Taurus in terms of like dependability, right? Earth is just so dependable. So yeah, it's very ambitious, and the fact that the sun is in Leo, I think Mars is there too, right? Yeah, so Mars there too. That's like just energy of like really being able to like self-start. Although like Taurus rising can be a little bit slower with the self-starting, but like once you do figure out where you're trying to get to, it's like you can really consistently get there. It's a fixed, right? It's a Leo energy. What else? Let's see. So yeah, I see it as very honest. I mean, Leo is very honest. Taurus is very honest, as I said. Very like, lots of integrity. And one thing that they both have in common is so much inner strength. Like the strength of the Taurus, right? And then the Leo, the strength of the lion, the passion of the lion, right? So that's of course, like the Leo is gonna like playing hero and being center stage more than the Taurus. Yeah, but it's I don't know. It's not it's for the fixed signs. This is probably the best you can get for sun and moon. It is the best you can get. So yeah, there's a very strong inner direction. And like I said, like the whole thing is like learning flexibility in life because they're both fixed. And they won't take no for an answer, which can be good in lots of ways, but like open-mindedness is really important. And with the Leo, the whole key is authentic self-expression, and that's kind of what it is, So, and I'll go back and forth, and actually 1 second. So I'll go back and forth and kind of flash the charts. Okay. So what else do we see here? So yeah, the Taurus rising, approaches life in a very like kind of methodical, slow manner. They're not usually the fastest. They kind of want to make sure everything is secure before. Also, it's very good for attractiveness. And so that's very good. 6 and 23. So yeah, they'll really, in the fact that Venus is in the second house, ruling that's very good for self-esteem. Although Saturn is quite close to it. So it's 11 degrees away. So it's like kind of like, I mean, it's like just on the edge. It's not going to be like the strongest conjunction, but it's still, 11 degrees. Some astrologers would take it someone. So, I mean, Venus and Saturn together typically makes it so like relationships are kind of hard until your Saturn return, like 30 years old, 29 and a half, 30-ish. But yeah, like they are 11 degrees away. So, but yeah, the fact that Venus is ruling, and I'm trying to look for something stars. So 623. Venus is ruling the chart in the second house. I would think that'd be very strong for self-esteem. Although it's probably something that you have to really, really work on. And it got way easier after. And, with Saturn there, that, it also has to do with money, right? And Taurus cares about money. Taurus moon, there's an emotional need for money. 6 and 20. Let me just see something really quick. I literally can't read this list. It literally made this list so like I can't read any of these. All right. Okay, now I can read it from this angle. So Hamal, okay, Hamal. So yeah. Anyway, so I'll look at that later. Hamal astrology. Um, but yeah, so overall, this is kind of the big not battle, but the big back and forth is between the Leo and the Taurus. So you can think of it as like parts work of like the Taurus part and the Leo part. I'm trying to like give them form and give them identity. I'm sure you in our follow up you can explain to me like how these show up in your life, and that's really we're going to really understand a lot. But yeah, so with the Leo, you have Mercury retrograde too, but let's talk more, with aspects. So, Moon square Mercury, that is very difficult for, like, you can really often like feel misunderstood and feel like because your Mercury is in Leo. So it's like, you might have like a communication style and a way of thinking, although it is in retrograde. So it's gonna be a little bit different. But you might feel misunderstood and kind of like your way of communicating, your way of thinking is at odds with your emotions, and that it's difficult for you to get your emotions out, right? And to especially retrograde, that Mercury retrograde natally makes someone very analytical, like they can kind of like they have this karmic the karmic meaning behind it is that in past lives you either underused Mercury, which is your voice communicating, or you overused it, right? And I don't see any bad like difficult aspects to it. So actually I see it very positive. So I think in this lifetime, like your first star of your life up to probably around the Saturn return also was really like analyzing, okay, like how do I think? Like what is the best way to convey what I want to convey? Like in what ways am I off? In what ways am I on? But the square with the moon, that's going to just make it so. I'll go back to my face. That's just going to make it so like there can be like misunderstandings and maybe like an inability to really truly like convey like this. It can make not necessarily vulnerability difficult, but yeah, it can make like communication breakdowns can be common. Besides that, it can make someone kind of overly reliant on logic, and also it can create lots of tension between heart and mind, right? So the mind being Mercury, and there can be like in the end it can really create like an intellectual or creative genius, right? But it can be difficult in the relationship life. And because like anything you feel really strongly about is or you have like an opinion on can be subject to your questioning, and also to the variability of emotions or interests towards that thing. So like a lot of times people with this, like there's like this an internal conflict between obviously the thoughts and the feelings, which like has more of an effect in the relationship, which communication breakdowns with partners. Like you might even be really open and honest with how you're really willing to express and share your feelings, but then they just come out, or it's received in a wrong way, not the way that you intended. So yeah, but in the end, it makes someone very charismatic, and it can become a superpower. So it's not one that's like super, it's like you have to work hard on communicating, and then in the end you can become very, very good at communicating your emotions. That's what squares are. And then the fact that it's Venus, Mars, Moon square Mars, that, once again, it's a Taurus moon squaring the Mars. That's the closest one. And that is just like, Mars is your action. So Moon square Mars can create lots of temper tantrums. The individual can, especially like in the context of your chart, like really be pushing in that fiery way. It's exactly what I was saying about like when I was talking about like the difference between the Leo and the Mars in terms of how the Leo and the Taurus, in terms of like how the Leo Mars is going to want to just go, right? It's going to want to just go and maybe do it in more of like a flashy way, kind of where it wants to kind of be seen. And really express itself creatively. And there can also be like some drama to it, like very confident behavior, kind of out there, really wanting to make an impact. It's a very strong Mars statement, right? Really wanting to make an impact on your surroundings. And it can also sometimes people that have Mars in this position can be a little bit arrogant. It's not all the time. You do have it trine Jupiter, so that's going to add a level of optimism and sweetness to your Martian Leo expression. But then the square at the moon, it just tends to create like people who can be very impulsive, right? And even though your moon's in this chill, laid back Taurus, which is going to make it a lot less intense, it's still something to look out for. And it's very competitive energy. It creates like this insatiable need to meet your desires, right? So there's like a very big emotional attachment to everything you want or need. But yeah, there can be like this like overreaction, anger, emotional turbulence in relationships. So it's all about, finding ways to kind of like deal with that and to feel the impulse before it comes up. But like your chart, this is why astrology can't be taken in a vacuum. Because you have this Taurus energy, in Taurus moon, it's gonna make you naturally more laid back, and kind of make this like a less difficult aspect. Okay, let's talk, moon, the real big one. Well, before that, I can just say that, you have a beautiful aspect of moon in the nodes, which means that like a lot of times that's like positive karma between you and your mother, at least whoever is representing the moon in your chart. It's not always the mother. In my chart, it's my dad. But in this case, you and then also moon opposite Black Moon Lilith. So it's like moon opposite Black Moon Lilith and Neptune. So the moon opposite Neptune is a big one. And basically what that's doing is it can create some sort of like I was saying before, like some fog and some disillusionment around your emotions. Even though you have this very strong moon in Taurus, Neptune, which is the planet that rules fog, when you have, like, I just gone through a moon Neptune transit, I'm still in it. It creates a lot of confusion. You can be like too empathetic, like to where you're too much of a sponge for the energies of people around you, So it's like important for like anyone with any aspect like this to like really understand and to learn to kind of like take what's theirs and not take what's not theirs from like an energetic perspective. But yeah, it can kind of create like paranoia sometimes, emotional paranoia. Very, very sensitive individual. And yeah, like I said, very easily impacted by who's in your environment. So like choosing your friends and where you work and stuff like that is super, super important. But besides that, yeah, it can create so this is kind of a theme that we might see is like, it can create lots of misunderstandings, right? Which can create relationship problems. But also like it can create like a lot of confusing feelings in your life that can lead to problems, right? It's one of the most challenging aspects And but like, you know, people with time, they really like, there's a huge need. It's one of these karmic aspects that kind of pushes you into like therapy or self-awareness or self-analysis, because you really need to understand yourself. There's like some confusion. But yeah, so it's like there's this like oversensitivity and this like amazing imagination, but sometimes the imagination gets you in trouble. And you can imagine things that aren't real. For example, like you might like, someone might like say something that has like literally no meaning, like you know, how's your day? And you might just, I don't know, it's a bad example, I couldn't think of anything else, but you might just like you know, like the message might be taken the wrong way, right? And also like it can make it so like, if you like romantically, you may think that you are showing like interest, and just like, or you might think that someone else is showing interest, and you might like just like be wrong, like you might like interpret it wrong, right? And it can go both ways. So yeah. Yeah, like you might think that someone's like showing, like you might like misread like a situation. So yeah, deception has to be addressed. And also you have to really watch out for people who take advantage of you, like toxic kind of like people, because you know, like energy vampires will take advantage of your good nature, especially with the Taurus moon that just wants to give, and Leo wants to give too. Leo's very, very, you know, it wants to make people happy. So yeah, there can be things like yeah, confused feelings, feeling guilt, like I said, guilt and shame that's not yours. So like understanding like what's yours, like there's potential of like taking on like difficult emotions from the mother, and until you understand like what, okay, that's not my emotional baggage, you know, it can be difficult. So yeah, there can be like being misunderstood, victimized, rejected, lots of stuff, you know. So it's a very difficult one. Some people have like mental illness, drug addiction. I mean, it's all. But like, I think the fact that you have the moon in Taurus helps this out so much. If this is like moon in like, I don't know, even Capricorn or Scorpio, you know, yeah, I don't know, Virgo, for example, this would be super difficult. But yeah, it's all about increased self-awareness, and like, you know, in partners, having like someone who can really kind of like see through this, and someone very, very solid, right? Like asking questions if you're unsure of like what the reality is. And yeah, so that's kind of what I see with that one. So then, you know, moon, you know, trying the midheaven, it's just saying that like, you know, your Taurus moon, that is linked to your career. So there's like a strong link between your emotions and like what you're here to really accomplish, like your dharma. So that in your North Node too. So that's really going to pull you to find something in like the outer world that you're doing that's really, really connected to that Taurus moon. And maybe like giving some of that inner security to outwardly, or like giving it to other people in some way. But the fact, you know, going back to what I was saying before, that you lack water, that could be very difficult, because like, you know, your South Node is in water. So that's saying that you have had lots of water in past lives, right? Which is like intuition, compassion, you know, just like feeling the undercurrents and stuff like that. So lacking water can sometimes like make one a little bit cold emotionally, but you know, you do have Taurus moon, which is very warm. So you have very warm energies, but like, yeah, lacking water, it's like sometimes lacking compassion. But then the fact that you have this you know, this Neptune connected to the moon, it's kind of like I've had a friend who had a similar chart, and she definitely had the same. Her moon was square Neptune instead of opposite, and she definitely, you know, I would say she was somewhat disconnected to her emotions, but she really picked up on the emotions of other people and of the world. So yeah. But you have to really watch out with the opposition here for like energy vampires. And then the opposition of Moon and Black Moon Lilith, well, you know, it's not a planet, Black Moon Lilith, but still, it's like, you know, Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio, I have that too. it's like at your lowest point, like when you're like at your worst, you can have like a tendency to maybe like psychologically kind of take things out on other people. So it's like, you know, it's opposite your, you know, moon in Scorpio, moon in Taurus. So it's like, yeah, just like, you know, like understand that the like you're able to really hurt people with like your words, you know, and to just not do it. And it's in the 7th house, which means it comes out in relationships, which means, you know, your 7th house is ruled by Scorpio, which is Mars, and Leo, which means that you can be quite dominant potentially in the realms of romantic relationships and partnerships. And with Black Moon Lilith there in Scorpio, there can be like power games, manipulation, you know, some of the lower Scorpio energy, which leads me to the next one, which is Venus square Pluto. And I have this too. And that is exactly that. You see, this is astrology saying the same thing twice in a row. Venus square Pluto is very difficult. I mean, once you get to like around the Saturn return, everything, it gets easier, but it's very hard earlier in life. It really just makes one love too hard. And it can like create like extreme clinginess and really like make it so like, I guess the energy of love, like you meet your shadow in love situations, right? And you feel things so deeply. You feel, so it's like there can be lots of projection you know, onto the partner, and it can like really make like the whole power games come out, like the whole power manipulation, all that stuff. And like there can be this like consistent struggle for power within the relationship, right? What else can I say about Venus square Pluto? So yeah, it's like Venus is self-love, right? So when it's completely related to how much you value yourself, which in your case with Saturn in the 2nd house, there can be difficulties with that until the Saturn return 30. I guarantee you there's a massive like weight lifted off your shoulder in the Saturn return period after that, like when you enter your 30s. But overall, you know, Venus square Pluto, yeah, there can be really, you until you find that self-love, you can kind of like go towards really dark people, you know, really dark people. And it just really complicates close relationships because like you feel your feelings so intensely. Pluto is this intense energy, right? So like how you feel and show, you know, love and affection can be just like really like too much for some people. So like you become attracted to someone, and it can even sometimes with this one, it can be like stalking, like like extreme infatuation, and you fall so deeply in love. But it can be like threatening or overbearing energy to other people, right? So yeah, with age obviously comes, like I was saying before, the ability to hide and understand and have that deeper wisdom of like, okay, this is like kind of what it is. But it's really important to be able to communicate these things in relationships, right? And yeah, it's about like gaining total control of the relationship. So like some people that have this will like choose relationships that are very non-threatening, like where they have like the power. And they can like, there's jealousy, guilt trips, possessiveness. So all these things are possible. I have one of my best friends has this, and she like is one of the most amazing people I know, but she just dates the worst guys ever. Like they're literally just the biggest scumbags. And I always tell her like, you know, and she has a 0.00 degree square. So it's exact. I always tell her like, until you start like really loving yourself, you're going to keep like attracting and accepting these kind of dirtbags, like literally fucking criminals, like that, like are just horrible people. And like the thing is, like some people with this, like they almost try to like force someone to love them, right? And of course that's never good. That leads to like, yeah. So it's overall like very intense relationships. When you combine like kind of the positive energy like, because the square can become positive. It just gives one the ability to love so intensely and to do anything for their partner. But they have to they have to learn the self-love. So speaking of Venus, while we're on the subject of love, it's in this, in Gemini. So Venus and Gemini people, they get a bad rap. Some people are like, they're the whores of the Gemini or of the zodiac. It's not true. It's like Venus and Gemini people, they're very, very curious in love, and they get bored easily. Let's just say it like that. So like they need to have a very, very strong intellectual connection. Like they need to be best friends with their partner. Let's just say that. And they're very flirtatious, curious, and the exchange of ideas and communication, which is like something we've been talking about, that has to be a huge highlight of the relationship, right? And yeah, like I said, it can get bored really easily. But like in terms of money, because Venus is also spending, it can like make one be very, very like original, and it can make one be a spendthrift. But like I already said, that you have like lots of energies that are more conservative that will push some of that away, but you have to watch out for that. So yeah, in the second house, that like makes you just like, that's like a really, really good totem for money. Being very comfortable with money, and you can really like, it's also like makes you like love possessions, beautiful possessions. And it's really, really good for self-esteem. So Saturn and Venus in the same house, there's this push and pull where you have to work hard for it, but self-love definitely can come, especially after 30. And this especially, and then that relates directly to the square of Pluto, and it's opposite Jupiter, which isn't a bad aspect. Jupiter, it's actually good when you have any connection. Venus and Jupiter is very good, and it's 1 degree off. So yeah, the houses 2 and 8 are very, very strong houses for you. And in essence, like in your Jupiter is 29 degrees in retrograde. So we have to talk about that. That's big time. And in Sagittarius in dignity. Wow. But I'm gonna put more water. 1 second. Give me 1 quick second. I'm gonna boil some water. Just realized I went to go close the door and this cat was outside. Fetty, the Siamese boy. You're cold. Okay. My girlfriend's cat, but I raised him. Maybe I can give you a little cat break because they're playing right now. Little mini cat break. Maybe I'll talk about the astrology while you're seeing these cats fight. So yeah, so like the big thing we need to talk about like in the follow-up is obviously like Leo versus Taurus. But there's lots of other things going on that I'm going to get to right now. So, the Venus and Gemini. Okay, enough of the cats. Yeah, there's going to be a love for like books, a love for reading, a love for communicating. So it's going to make someone a big communicator. And there can be skills in writing, all kinds of stuff. And my dad has this, and he has always just loved learning and loved reading and loved all that stuff. And when you have Jupiter in Sagittarius, you love to travel, you love to learn, you love to be like the gypsy I always say this with Sagittarius, Jupiter, it's like the ultimate teacher energy. It's kind of like a gypsy energy that turns into a philosopher that then turns into a teacher. And it's at 29 in our, I can never say this word right. Antarctic degree. How do I say it? 29 degree. I just need to learn this. Anaretic. So it's an anaretic critical degree, the anaretic degree. So 29 degrees is a critical degree. Basically means that you have a lot to do with that, with this Jupiter, right? In Sagittarius. It's a strong, strong energy. But there is like, on one end, like it's very, very good for studying the occult, for studying psychology. Like you have Neptune there too. So these are two very, very strong energies for really, really diving into anything that is like psychology, esoteric, spiritual. You have this natural ability. So that is amazing. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We'll talk more about the specifics of those. But what I'm seeing is a very, very deep spiritual potential. Okay, so moving forward, I don't want to go into Jupiter fully yet before I cover all the personal plans. So, we haven't really talked about Mercury retrograde, what that means. And I made some posts about it. I've talked a little bit about what Mercury retrograde, but in Leo, so it can make that Leo Mercury, it wants to express itself. It wants to like let things out, very enthusiastic in how one speaks, and it wants to just like say things with no filter sometimes, very proud of their learning abilities. It's very extroverted in how it speaks and how it acquires knowledge. But and it's in the fourth house, so that can make like the home, like as I said before, your home environment is, maybe you're someone who works from home or who like really enjoys learning at home. And also one thing I didn't say about your sun in the fourth house, all this fourth house energy, is that it means that your childhood plays a massive, massive role in your life. Like whatever, like, you're probably like, it makes one quite nostalgic a lot of times. And a lot of times their careers are like they might like stay friends with, people they grew up with, very, very close to their family, very family oriented. And that goes into their adult life, a real desire to have kids and to do that whole thing. So it's beautiful, right? But then with the Leo, it's like, there's a deep, deep need for you to create and to take a creative risk on yourself in this lifetime, right? Now, Leo, so when we put these together, I look at your Chiron in the 12th house and I see it's in Aries. And it makes me think, wow. And is that a grand trine? No, it's not. But it makes me think, okay, when you have a Chiron and a fire sign, that there's this pain when it comes to self-assertion. There's this pain when it comes to really just doing it, like people that like Aries likes to go. It's like a green light, double green light. But Chiron Aries, there can be pain around feeling like your sense of being has been violated in some way, and you can really fear asserting yourself, right? And there can be like overcompensation by trying to be first at everything. So yeah. And it's in the 12th house, which is very interesting. And that has to do with like suffering from like deep buried wounds, potentially past life stuff, spiritual wounds. But Chiron 12th house can be a spiritual healer, and I believe it makes some strong aspects. It does. It makes it trines your sun, it trines your Mercury, it trines your Mars. So it trines all that Leo, but it also sextiles your Saturn. So what that's saying is that like you're kind of meant to be a healer in some way. That doesn't mean you have to have a career that's like all like 100% healing, but you will benefit from that. You'll have a natural push and ability and natural skill towards that. And when we look at your chart, being someone Taurus moon who's very grounded, I know you do have those aspects, but which I'm very curious to hear like how you deal with the moon opposite Neptune moon, yeah. But like, with that said, like Chiron trine Sun is like someone who has like a natural ability to heal others. And in the 12th house, it's like the collective. It's like the collective. It's like a spiritual healing, right? It's a very spiritual house. So once you get past whatever, your Aries and Chiron, we all have Chirons, right? We all have the pain that we need to heal within ourselves. Like mine's in Cancer, which has to do with like family, right? Yours in Aries has to do with like asserting yourself. But once you get past that, and as a Taurus rising, there can be like a little bit of a shyness, a little bit of a fear to take the risks, right? So this is where this comes together. But once you get past that, then everything opens up, and then there's this whole potential, right? So I'm looking for one thing. So, okay. I might send you this article. So let's see. Okay. So with the moon opposite Lilith, it's not something I've really worked with before because it is an illuminary. I mean, I've seen it and I've spoken about it. I mean, but basically, like it kind of just states that you can be your own worst enemy when it comes to emotions, and that sometimes that Scorpio energy, which we saw before with your Venus square Pluto, can come out in relationships. So that actually, I understand perfectly. It's literally saying, it's doubling down on that, which astrology does so beautifully when it says like the same thing, the same message in multiple ways throughout a chart. It's doubling down on that like potential tendency to kind of have those power, like all that stuff I talked about when I talked about Venus square Pluto in relationships. So that's that. Okay. So yeah, Venus retrograde, in Leo. So there can be like an over-analysis. You have to watch out for over-analyzing and ruminating. And it can be very, very important for you to like do things like journaling. I say that to so many clients, but like I feel like so many of my clients like can benefit so much from journaling, especially with Venus in Gemini. So what aspects? And it's sextile Saturn, which is very positive. Conjunct Mars, very positive. That's going to give you like a real drive to communicate and to because like when it has to do your past lives, maybe you've underspoken, and that's the gist I get is that you've underspoken and that you have all this wisdom that you've accumulated from yourself, especially emotional wisdom. And in this life, you're really meant with your North Node. I'll start sharing the chart again. With your North Node on the midheaven, right? Like the North Node is like the part of your chart that represents the mountain that you've never climbed in past lives. Yeah, I might send you that article. But basically, what it's saying is that like you're supposed to take all of the gifts, like the things that you've worked on so much in past lives that you've held to yourself, maybe to your household that you haven't gone public with, and take them public. So a perfect example would be someone who has been like, the mother archetype in past lives, regardless of whether they're a mother or not, and just like been very like, emotionally nurturing to people, but hasn't like in this life, they can be like a really, really good therapist, or they can be like a really, really strong, like amazing spiritual healer. And if it's in, it can be in any industry, in any job, or like, it doesn't even have to be in a job. It can have to do with your own spirituality, because the midheaven, the meridian, is also like, it's not just this career. That's a human, like, recent century creation, right? So like, and this is eternal. Astrology is eternal. So the midheaven, it means just like what you do on like a grand scheme in the world. That's what it means. So it can also be your spirituality, even though that seems more inner. It could have to do with that, like what you do spiritually, where you go, things like that. So that's massive. And speaking of spirituality, we have that Mercury retrograde, or Jupiter retrograde in the 8th house. So that is like the ultimate seeker of knowledge, right? The ultimate seeker of knowledge, the person who, I'm just double checking something really quick. Yeah. So the Jupiter at that degree, I already forgot the Antarctic degree, is that basically like it's the last degree. So you've come to the end, to the last point karmically with this energy, with this Jupiter, and in the 8th house. So it's basically like it's almost like the last level of the video game. So there can be like, it's like I had a really good metaphor for this last night that I forgot, but it's something along the lines of like you're in a video game or like a test, and it's like how much have you studied? You know, this, like, let's say your test is at the end of the semester, and if you've goofed around, you're gonna have a lot of studying to do in this last life. But if you've been good, then you won't. So that's kind of how I see this. But it's retrograde, so that makes me think that in past lives there was like this loss of faith, and then in this life, loss of faith, or like something that has to do with belief systems, and either being like fed the wrong belief systems. In this life, you really are trying to figure out the right avenues for how you like you're really trying to go deep within yourself, which is the 8th house. Going deep, death, rebirth, transformation energy, which a lot of that happens in romantic relationships with you or in partnerships. And essentially, like through that, finding that universal truth, right? Like that quest for truth. Like, it's a very strong, like my, Trey, my best friend who I do the podcast with, he has his Sag, or his Jupiter in Sag, and, he's very, very philosophical, right? So it's like, but he doesn't really have anything else in Sag. So next one's super philosophical. In the 8th house, I'll show my face again. It has the effect of like giving you like a lantern, like almost like this flashlight, because the 8th house is like this very dark realm. It's like the occult, esoteric studies of life after death. Also, this is really good for like inheritance, or like anything related to benefiting from other people's resources. But yeah, like the 8th house Jupiter, it's like the natural psychologist / like person who has like this like this real desire to kind of like go deep within different studies and probe and learn a lot, and then take that and maybe like teach it to people as a healer, perhaps. The fact that you have Neptune there also is amazing, and that can make you feel really at one with others. It's like one of the best places you can have Neptune. And like you can really transcend daily life through your metaphysical pursuits, and you can really sense like the emotional undercurrents of what's going on, in the collective. So it's very, very, your 8th house is amazing, right? Ruled by Sagittarius. It's like, like it's expansion in this area that a lot of people really struggle with, right? Because the 8th house is the house of death. So you're able to go through these ego deaths in a way that's positive and that's less fearful than a lot of people. So, okay, let me see this really quick. The cat's fighting. And then interesting that you have your North Node, which is, like I said, in Capricorn. So that, it's trine Pluto. But yeah, basically, like, that's very, very, like that we'll talk about your Pluto in a little bit, but that's kind of like a real push forward to have those two connected, which are the 2 points that I believe are the two forward pushing points in terms of karma. Like by following your Pluto and by following your North Node, that's how you get to your highest growth, and they're connected. But with your North Node, right, in Capricorn, like I told you, it's like boss. I don't want to say boss bitch, but like, like taking, I've already explained it enough, right? It's like taking all the emotional lessons and putting them into, like something, a structure, right? So it's like a quest for maturity, and not depending too much on other people, right? And sometimes people with South Node and Cancer can like burden other people. They can have like a tendency to burden other people with their emotional issues and kind of be like a little bit weak emotionally, not all the time. And you don't have any like bad aspects that would indicate that. So I don't think that's the case. And a lot of times people just like spend much of their life searching for a father figure. But like the whole lesson is like becoming that father figure for oneself, becoming your own boss, becoming your own, you are your boss. And yeah, like it's all about like working towards your own respected place in the world. And ninth house, it's like, it still is in the ninth house. It's about like it's kind of like the Jupiter one. It's about developing your higher mind, letting go of past like tendencies to be narrow-minded, and burdening your perspectives, or burdening. I say words sometimes, words wrong sometimes. Broadening your perspectives. And with the Jupiter retrograde, like, I think you saw my post. It can be difficult, right? There can be a real feeling of like in past lives, kind of like, how do I say this better? Like basically it turns it like Jupiter retrograde, it makes you like really philosophical, but you might be like, it's very inward. So you're like very spiritual inwardly, because it's like Jupiter likes to expand outward, but it's in retrograde, it goes inward. So lots of spiritual studies. What else can I say? Yeah, like a very spiritual incarnation, but it's all about, okay, this is what I was trying to find. It's all about seeking your own truth, right? Because you'll be very discontent with like the status quo and not following the steps of others. And there can be like great like wisdom and prophetic ability. And yeah, and also like you can feel like traveling could be really great for you, and you can really broaden your horizons when traveling, and you can feel at home anywhere on the planet. So you might be someone that's interested in like getting an astrocartography reading from me perhaps one day, where you can see where your energy hot spots and energy cold spots are in the world. That's a whole different thing. So, and let's see. So then also, interestingly, you have Neptune rising or retrograde too. And then that's kind of it, besides the Mercury, and they're both in the same house. So Neptune, right, retrograde, gives you this like real urge to view the material world in terms of how it affects your soul's growth, right? And it gives you like a very big opportunity to achieve a very advanced stage of spiritual evolution, which is interesting because like it's with your in the same house as your same sign, same house as your Jupiter. So you have to really like live in the material world while remaining separate from it. And it's all about, just vibrating at a higher level and walking that path, that real authentic path, and being in touch with the cosmos. And from a karmic perspective, it's like about learning to distinguish between dreams that will bring true fulfillment and those that simply appear to do so but don't, right? So like really stepping up to that Capricorn North Node, making the dreams a reality. And what else can I say? So yeah, it gives the desire to unveil mysteries and expose religious shams too, especially where it's placed. And yeah, like it attunes much easier to the subconscious and conscious when the focus is diverted, like by something like astrology, a tool such as astrology, psychology, tarot, whatever. So that's very, very important to have something like that. So then, let's talk. I'm opening my notes here because I want to just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. With Jupiter in the eighth, like it's very, very good for occult abilities. So I see your chart being really, really good for money, but like maybe it took till like 30 years old. So yeah, occult abilities, death, regeneration, inheritances. I already talked about that. So it gives tremendous power in all areas mentioned, like they just mentioned. I talked about the joint enterprises, other people's resources. So like you could be someone that like works, like for example, like Jupiter in the 8th house could be someone that like manages other people's money or something like that, or benefits like from a marriage, not in a gold digger type way, but just like karmically, like their soulmate like just happens to have money, yeah. And as I'm saying that, I read the 8th house rules the marriage partner's money, and such a placement definitely indicates a wealthy spouse. Literally, it's kind of funny. Also, you can benefit through anything connected to death, metaphorically or literally. So that's an interesting one, right? So yeah, it gives like lots of like interest in like anything like the occult, esoteric, psychic abilities, anything that's forbidden and secret, taboo, sexuality too. Like taboo sexuality is huge. But and it also, I'm so happy I read my notes because I would have forgotten this. So Jupiter in the 8th or the 12th house, I have in the 12th house, and I definitely feel this. You have the 8th house, it gives you spiritual protection from psychic attacks. I love that. So even when you're like asleep, meditating, like in any, like it gives you like that spirit guides, like protecting you from psychic attacks. And it gives you this real perspective to really understand death and the meaning of life and death. I talk a lot about that in my book. I don't know if you read it. I have like a whole chapter and I have like a similar thing in my chart of how like overcoming the fear of death was like the biggest thing that happened to me and jumpstarted my whole life, and was one of the huge reasons for my big downfall. So yeah, you have this ability to really understand it well. Sex is super important. Very spiritual sex typically. It's a great placement overall. It's like, the 8th house is usually like, for a lot of people's charts, it's like super difficult. And here you have like this lantern that lights all these issues, right? So really, really good. So then Neptune there, 1 second. So Neptune, in the 8th is also really, really, really good. And what that does, I just want to go through my notes. Okay, so double-edged knife, the positive side is that can reach high levels of spirituality, unconditional love through the relationships. The negative is a rather wide spectrum of deception and self-deception. So you have to watch out for that self-deception. We already talked about that before. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Watch out for don't take out debts. That's very important to not get yourself in debt and being too deep in loans. But you do have Jupiter there, so that's gonna counterbalance that. So a lot of the bad stuff of this gets very counterbalanced by the Jupiter, and the good stuff just gets multiplied. So very strong talents in the occult. The gates of consciousness are wide open in a very passive way. Neptune acts as a sponge, receiving all floating information without filtering it. Normal phenomena will be perceived as something supernatural, confusing the native and leading to wrong perception of reality. Another issue is, and that totally goes with the moon opposite, is her believing in any strange theory she reads without researching its background. So really important to do research and watch out for the energy vampires and the people that come to you with the solution to all your problems, using that. And when you lack air, sometimes there can be a lack of of that. I'm not saying you don't have intuition. I mean, you probably have amazing intuition. I believe intuition is a muscle. But when you lack the water is intuition. I mean, but actually fire is also intuition. So it's yeah, you do have the fire, but they're different types. Yeah, just be really careful with religious groups, kind of cults. They can really like energy vampires. So once again, another watch out for them. It's super important for you to watch out for that. They can be a masochist, taking pleasure from being used. They can really give unconditional love. And then, yeah. Also be careful not to poison yourself. Alcohol and drugs fall in this category. So what a lot of people that have this, just watch out for for substances. And then finally, I said that. And also, like, it can make someone like really hide these habits from the outer world. And it can give a very, no, that's not, I'm not going to go there. And it's not even true because Jupiter. Yeah, so try to armor yourself from the outside influences. Yes, your gates towards the other realms are wide open, which is not usual for the rest of the world. No, you should not just let everyone and everything come inside. Learn to distinguish the friend from the predator, and you will be rather safe. Empower your Neptune with the help of more active planets in order to build good defenses for the otherwise blurry borders of Neptune. So very interesting. Okay, so moving on, getting close to wrapping up. Let's see. So where am I time-wise? Okay. It's my camera. Yeah. So, okay. So as a Taurus rising, obviously, you know, you'll approach life in a kind of methodical, slow, want to make sure, you know, stable, structure, all reliability, all those things are the cornerstones of your life. Very essential, practical self-expression. And there's the big, I talked about like the need to balance stability with flexibility. Gemini ruling the second house, you know, full of money making ideas. I talked about that, watching out for the tendency to spend too much. You can be someone who talks very quickly, but you really value your intellect. And with, you know, I talked about Saturn in the second house can create someone that comes from a poor family. They may experience feelings of emotional and financial poverty early in life. But later in life, they have this real ability to build up personal resources through their hard work. And you have Venus there, which can kind of counteract that. So let me know, like that's another one to speak about. But yeah, like Saturn the second is difficult. I think I talked about it in one of my posts. And it doesn't really have any bad aspects, so it's not so strong in a bad way. And let's see. Yeah, so it says here, a supportive Jupiter or Venus, which you have, might even turn it into a benefic. So that's kind of what I see. So I think, you know, it probably gives you like this real stability with your self-esteem and your self-image. But yeah, a lot of times it's like born to a poor family. Not always, but there can be the survivor. I've seen this in a lot of charts of people who just like they make a lot of money through their hard work, and then they just are so afraid to spend it. Like my uncle, he like owns, like he started really poor, and it's like he literally owns probably like 15 houses that he bought, and he like there were nothing, and he like reconstructed it all with his own hands. You know, he's a millionaire for sure. I mean, if you own that, maybe not. I don't know. It's in a rural part of France, but like he has a lot of money. He just doesn't spend on anything. It's ridiculous. So it's like, yeah, it's like success comes slowly and surely. It's all about hard work, wealthy old years. It makes someone who doesn't really want to. So this actually pushes away a lot of like the gambling nature of the Venus Gemini. It makes someone who wants to be more conservative. Yeah, and also like really, really high standards for yourself and for other people, strong sense of self-reliance. Yeah, so I think it's a positive Saturn, which is great because you know, we've got the Venus making it good. So then Cancer ruling the third, you know, you enjoy sharing your feelings and insights. Like you kind of have like an emotional way of communicating, which is really beautiful. And makes one very intuitive with Cancer ruling the third. South node there, part of fortune there, part of fortune in the Cancer. It's like you'll find lots of joy through nourishing other people. And once again, the whole family thing comes in, like, you know, just really wanting to connect and be close to the family. Beautiful. And also you'll experience lots of happiness, like with the birthing process and raising children, stuff like that. And third house, you know, you love, it's just great for communication, developing your higher mind, having people you can really like communicate with in an emotional way. And it's linked to your South node. So that's a very positive totem that can speak to, you know, carrying in these gifts from current past incarnations, which I talked about in excess, maybe in excess. So Leo, fourth house, you take great pride in your family. You take great pride in your home. You like your home to be like the center of attention. This like great place where you can have fun, where you can be free, where you can express yourself. Home life is important. And also it's like, it gives one a very gregarious, like kind of unconscious nature, like within themselves. We talked about all the planets there. So Virgo ruling the fifth, like that's kind of creates like a serious energy when it comes to play. You can be a really good problem solver, but they can be like, more methodical when it comes to like pastimes and just fun. Curious to hear about that. Ruled by Mercury, which is in retrograde. So yeah, maybe you might overthink your fun. Okay, so then the sixth house we have to talk about. That's like kind of like wrapping up. I think these are the last ones I have to talk about. Yeah. So the sixth house is ruled by Libra. So right off the bat, Libra sixth house, sixth house is gonna, you're gonna want your daily routine, your daily life, your health and all that to be really harmonious and balanced. It's very good. And Venus ruling, your sixth is very good for the body, very good for the health, very good for the routine, all that stuff. And also really good for coworkers and having a harmonious relationship with coworkers. With that said, you have Uranus, Vertex, Pluto, and Juno in there. So let's start with Juno because that's like related to like love. So, and Vertex. We'll start with the ones that are relationship oriented. So, Juno in Libra means that you're really gonna look for your partner, like marriage partner, like that level of partner, to also, along with like what I said before, right? Like if we combine like the Mars and Leo, really taking great pride in your partner, wanting to have someone that you can express your inner child with, but then also, the Taurus part, like someone who like understands those two parts and who I could see you being as someone who like has like a very like opposite chart than you potentially. And you guys kind of like balance each other out. Maybe someone who has lots of water because you lack water. But yeah, someone, there has to be the intellectual connection. You might find it that you're like grounding them, someone who can really like explain, the potential confusions you might have with the moon opposite Neptune. And yeah, a strong level of stability, a balance of stability and fun. But then with Juno, you'll really want this like really real beauty and balance within your relationships, right? This real beauty and balance, this real like it's a really even and non like very peaceful relationship. And Taurus moon wants peace too, so that's another hint at relationship stuff. So then Vertex, in the sixth house, that means that your doorway to higher awareness is through being of service, which and in Libra, that means that it's kind of like your second ascendant. So the ascendant of your Vertex is like how you appear, your ascendant, like how you appear in relationships. You appear as this Libra kind of person, like this very like, Venusian, loving, fair, everything I just mentioned about Juno, because there's a conjunction between Juno and Vertex. So you kind of appear the way you want, like everything I just described. Like you appear the way that you want to love, or the ideal of what you love. Like that's kind of how you appear too, which is very interesting. So then Uranus in the sixth. Okay. So Uranus in the sixth, I have this too. It is 7:05 a.m. This is normal for me these days. This makes it so you approach daily life in a very unusual way, right? Also, so you might have really like routines that are just different, just very non-mainstream. Yeah, like you also like, you in a work environment, you won't, and your midheavens into Capricorn, so you definitely want to be your own boss. It might be difficult for you to kind of like, you'll feel very, very rebellious in that sense. And yeah, unusual daily life routine. And there can be like with health, there can be like lots of like kind of sudden changes in health, but like things that just like come mysteriously and then kind of like leave. So let's go back to my notes for this one as we're wrapping up. And then Pluto, yeah, well, I need to get my Pluto book for that. Well, I could probably speak about it without my Pluto book. It's over there on the side, like 2 minutes. Okay, Uranus in the sixth. So it feels rather uncomfortable in the sixth. Because like, you know, it's also about work and service towards others, and health issues. So it can bring like, you know, unexpected troubles concerning the body. But there's not any bad aspects. So push some of that away. You know, there can be a rather rebellious, like I said, with the job, like very rebellious with the job. Like the diseases or whatever it brings can be connected to the nervous system or mental health. So it's like, watch out for like excessive hard work. Because that can lead to lots of psychosomatic diseases, right? So it's like I'm not scaring you. I'm just saying this is like kind of like, and you don't have any like you don't have Mars opposite or square Uranus, okay? So like take this with a grain of salt. It's really good to do like checkups on the body and make sure that things are all good. And you know, the main thing is living a carefree life, following that Leo and just living a carefree life. And then the psychosomatic stuff goes away and it's just all like everything just kind of fixes itself. And one way to get the best, like to kind of like when you have Uranus in the sixth and Pluto in the sixth, is being of service to humanity, right? That's the best thing you can possibly do. That kind of like offsets a lot of like volunteering, stuff like that. That offsets a lot of the difficulty. Let me go get my Pluto book. Okay, so then Pluto, which is like literally such an important planet in the chart, and the way I look at Pluto is like it's like your shadow work. And it's like, imagine you have to go to your own personal underground, and it's such hard work, but it leads you to like the highest growth. It's kind of like the North Node, but it's more dirty. The North Node is like you take the South Node, right, which is like your Cancer like skills, and you use those to like emotional skills, and you use those to like get to like really like be self-sufficient and do something in the world on a big level, right? Right. So you see how it's not necessarily so dirty. It's difficult, but this one is where things get a little bit more dirty, a little bit more difficult, because there's going to be lots of resistance and shadow work to do. So in the sixth house, Pluto, you know, it definitely speaks about health, about the body. So there's like, okay, so here it goes. So we see a transition point or a sharp contrast to the creative power of the subjective self shown in Leo, fifth house. The need arises, okay, don't worry about that part. The need arises to return to level ground and to reevaluate the self through fundamental reexamination. This Pluto seeks a reassessment of self's drive to continuously authenticate itself. This Pluto seeks a reassessment of the self's drive to continuously authenticate itself, and instead seeks to deconstruct the self, to place it at the service of others. So it's very service oriented, or of useful work to society. In this way, a profound humility is sought as the ego bows to larger forces. And this is the best way. So where you see, we're getting this sixth house part of your chart. We're seeing that like there's this repeated thing of being of service, right? And you have Chiron in the 12th house. So that's the clue to how you can be of service, which we spoke about before. And we definitely need to speak about that in the follow-up. And you're gonna have to remind me of all these things, by the way. Like, I hope most people watch these readings like more than once, you know, and they take notes. Maybe the first time they watch it, or maybe the first time, yeah, they watch it, and then the second time they like watch it while taking notes. But anyways, in this way, a profound humility is sought as the ego bows to larger forces into proper assessment and to a proper assessment of the self and the environment. So this is all done so that the will can accept the other, which is like the next part, the Pluto in the seventh house, the relationship. It's all like a turn. It's all like a one after the other. It's a story, a zodiac story. And to not be so self-centered. So it's like like a reassessment. So the question goes from how can I be special to how can I be useful? So really, in essence, it's about finding like humility, right? From like, even as a Leo, humility. And it's not saying quit your job and this and that and do only things that are of service. It's more about like, how can you think of your life. And I made a video where I spoke about this the other day. I made 2 videos actually. Like, what is the metaphysical value? Instead of thinking so much, as Taurus can sometimes be very, very like in the, the material world, not like materialistic, but in the material world, and think of things in like the logical value. But it's like think of your life in the like more so in the metaphysical value. Of course, making money and having luxury is part of who you are. With the Leo, I mean, I'd be very surprised if it wasn't, but yeah, that's very, very important. So Scorpio 7th house, I spoke about that, how there can be like intense relationships. We spoke about that in detail, and we'll speak about it more, drama, all that. Sag in the 8th, we talked about that, like just that expansiveness in those kind of dark areas of life. They're usually pretty dark. Capricorn 9th house, that's very good for like higher education. It can make people with like PhDs and like really like do well in studying like these like kind of intellectual things, subjects. And for traveling, it will make one very like structured and well organized when they travel. We talked about so then the midheaven in the 9th house, midheaven in Capricorn, you'll want a career path where that's very respectable and responsible, where you have responsibility and honor. You prefer to be seen as like authoritative and reliable. And there can be like some definitely, because it's ruled by Saturn, some like setbacks earlier in the career, but it all pays off at the end and gets better once you hit the Saturn turn 30 years old, which you already hit. It's in the 9th house. So that's kind of like saying that like midheaven in the 9th house people that like, your career is really, really based on, kind of that Jupiter, right? Where it's like in retrograde and it's like about higher meaning and how your career can encompass and help you get closer to this understanding of truth. Okay, so Aquarius ruling the 10th. This kind of says something a little bit different, where you'll want to also be very ingenious in your chosen profession, right? And you might choose like a very unconventional, not different career path, and that maybe one that makes a contribution to humanity. And finally, or not finally, one more. Pisces 11th house is an empty house, but it's ruled by Neptune, which is in the 8th house. So that will make you, actually, you should message me. I don't think you're in my group. I have a private group that I'm very secretive about these days, but I see that you have this in your chart. So you might actually you might already be in it. I'm sorry if you are, but message me about this group. It's trust me, just message me about the group if you're not already in it. It's an amazing group. And there's no cost or anything like that. It's I handpick people. It's invite only by me. It's people I handpick. And your chart shows basically you want to be with people who are like-minded, like in terms of your friends and groups of people and associations. And that's very, very important for you, is to have that. And that can really also help with that moon opposite Neptune kind of self-esteem stuff. And you want to take all these talents and be around other people that also have these talents naturally. So finally, Aries, in the 12th house, that could be like, in a past life, you may have been like a warrior. And, you also fear being overwhelmed by other people's emotions and losing your sense of self within them. You can also find yourself fighting the battles of others. And you really need lots of time to like rejuvenate and renew your spiritual direction, which I talked about earlier in the reading. And of course, Chiron's there, conjunct Eris. So then let's see here. So we're looking for fixed. So your moon is very, very close to what's known as the worst aspect, but you're just outside of Algol conjunct your moon. Yeah, it's close, but it's just outside. And Algol is like that it's very evil energy. and you're not evil. I know you're not. So you're if you were born like a little tiny bit earlier, yeah, Algol would be in the house. But let me just see what they say on astrology king for the orb of Algol. Yeah, 2 degrees. So you're just outside of it. And Capulus, let's see. So that's the one that conjuncts your sun. These are all new to me. I'm learning so much about the stars. So, okay. Combative, destructive. So let's see what it says about sun. Yeah, Che Guevara had it. So Capulus, conjunct your sun. Let's see what it says. Ptolemy classed them as a Mars Mercury item. High enterprise, combative, destructive. It can lead to bad eyesight. So it says Capulus and Algol each have a very positive side to them. The sword did remove blah blah monstrosity from our world, and the monstrosity's head did in turn rescue blah blah blah. So it rules the back, okay, and the back and the neck of the human body. Okay. So it says, okay, how Capulus and more especially Algol signify on horoscopes depends entirely on how the person concerned does or does not live life with an honest sense of purpose to it, which is like your, your Sag energy or your Sag Jupiter, right? So purpose to it, desire at least to try to live up to some kind of philosophy, religion, or ideal, which you're totally doing. If that be present in the person or question or event for which the chart is drawn, then all will go well. The person will be seen as happy, and yeah, okay, cool. So that's good. And then the ascendant, Hamal, which is let's see, I don't know anything about Hamal. It's a giant star that may host an orbiting planet with a mass greater than Jupiter. Damn. Okay. So Hamal causes violence. So let's see what it says about the ascendant, Hamal rising. Doesn't say shit. Charles Manson has it though, so sketch. But yeah, it causes violence, cruelty, blah blah blah. According to Ptolemy, is of the nature of Mars and Saturn, malicious, thieving, merciless, blah blah blah. It's the main star in the head of the ram and is equivalent to an unfortunate Mars-Saturn combination. It appears Mars and Saturn are fighting each other for domination, so it can be dangerous. So you have to watch out for like risky things like climbing, like rocks or something like that. But if Mars or Venus are linked with Hamal, which and if other factors are equally present, suffering connected with the love life or ill treatment by Saturn is indicated, but you don't have that, so that's good. So devise planetary analogs for many stars. So yeah, so Mars more dominant is a good description of people with a star. It's okay. This is headstrong and often aggressive, yet potentially capable leaders and protectors of their community. All qualities of the Rams. That's the part that you take away, because a lot of this other stuff is just kind of like old astrology. And it's not like such a strong star that's like really dominant. Okay, so then Venus. Okay, Sun. Okay. So 11, 18, 22. Let's look for that. The midheaven is 25. Is that Vega? No, where is Vega? Or Spica, I mean. Vega, it's lower. It's Spica's in Libra. Spica's at 23 Libra, yeah. Okay. So 11, 18, 22. Let's open up over here. Pages. So 11, 18, 22. Stars. Okay, so really look. 11. So 11. Naus. So Naus. So many fixed stars. So Naus astrology. It's so unknown that there's nothing about it. But Polaris, which you have on your Venus, let's see what we can get out of this. It's not really giving much information. Good tempered, healthy. Okay, so it's good for marriage. It's of the nature of Saturn and Venus. So yeah. And you have those two together. Okay. Gives spiritual powers to the bear, who will be highly respected. It's a guide and indicator. Okay. Clearly recognizes his or her aims and will pursue and achieve them. Yeah. So it says Ptolemy gives it Saturn Venus rating entirely right for the star, which serves so well to guide us in our wanderings. And that is just what it tells us about people when we find it strong in their horoscopes. According to its aspects, they're excellent or not so good at receiving and giving guidance, but give it, they always will, to any who will listen. So, yeah. So not any of like the big fixed stars, but you've got some going on. So yeah. So just about to wrap up. I think that's pretty much everything. Just want to double check. Yeah. So thank God, if you're born like an hour later, you'd have Algol conjunct your moon. Let's just double check these other asteroids to see if there's anything else I'm missing. What's this? Oh, so you have Apollo conjunct your sun. It symbolizes harmony, artistic gifts, creative and healing powers. So it's like it's a sun god. It represents the solar principle of creative and manifestation. Ooh, so that's very manifesting. There's also seems to be a strong element of idealism and idealizing too. Apollo energy seems to be a focus. This is on your sun, right? So this is like very, very sun energy, such strong Leo energy. Seems to have a focus for where one individual's gifts can find a strong expression in the outer world. So there's a correlation here with creative maturity. Negatively, it can also be a pointer of vanity and narcissism. All righty. Well, that's it. Unless I see anything else, which I don't. What's this? Yeah. So I'll leave it at that. 147 again. Jesus, will I ever stop? Hope you enjoyed. This is great. Let me know about the follow-up. Take notes. Hope you enjoyed. All right, ciao.